Gentleman yield.
The gentleman yield for questions.
Yes.
Gentleman yields.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Representative, for your amendment. I was curious, there was a vote yesterday to raise the basic allotment, which would have done everything that you're talking about. How did you vote on that?
I don't recall.
You don't recall? You want us to check the journal?
I'm happy to go take a look. I do not recall. But the point is, this bill does something that I applaud, which does require more of the basic allotment go to teachers. I am a fan of increasing the basic allotment. What I'm not a fan of is when when school districts get that money, and instead of giving it to the people that matter the most, which is teachers, they choose to give it to superintendents, and in some cases paying them more than the President of the United States of America.
I appreciate that. When I went to school, like you, I appreciated my teachers, but I didn't get to see my teacher before I saw my bus driver. And then I didn't get to see my teacher before I saw my food service worker. Does this amendment provide salary increases for bus drivers and for food service workers?
So the state of Texas, under the legislation we are currently considering, is going to be handing out, I think, between $5 and $6 billion more dollars to the schools to spend as they see fit.
I know that, sir. We're on your amendment. We're not on what the legislature's doing.
No, but it's relevant to your question. If you're asking the impact of my amendment.
My question is relative to your amendment. That's my question. Relative to your amendment, does your amendment specify and provide a salary increase for bus drivers, food service workers, or maintenance folks who are working at the school?
Those are being handled in the underlying legislation.
Would you like to answer my question, sir?
My amendment is silent to anything other than ensuring that school districts make sure that at least half their M&O budget goes to teachers.
I appreciate
That's all
that.
my amendment does.
Representative, we don't legislate in silence. We legislate with words.
Which is why I'm talking about the
right.
content in the underlying bill.
The words of your amendment. Mr. Speaker, may I have some order, please?
It's very hard to do. Yes.
Members, please take conversations outside the rails.
So I'll ask the question again. I know it was a little bit loud. Maybe now that it's quiet.
It was hard to hear.
In the words of your amendment, that's before us right now, does it provide for a 50% application of the maintenance and operation to go towards the salaries of food service workers, bus drivers, maintenance folks, nurses, or is it just for teachers?
Again, since we do not legislate in a vacuum, as I believe the words you said about 30 seconds ago, that policy vacuum is filled with the underlying content of HB 100, which does all of the things you just said. All I'm simply saying is that in a condition of getting $5 or $6 billion of my taxpayer dollars, you got to give half of that to the teachers out of your M&O budget. Where else should they send that money, Representative?
That's a really good question.
I agree.
You should come over here and ask it. And so we're asking the questions back here. You're giving the answers.
Where would you prefer they send the money?
Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Martinez-Fischer,
Parliamentary inquiry.
Please take your inquiry.
In the parliamentary debate system that we have here on this floor, where do the questions come from, sir? From the front mic or the back mic?
The question originate from the back microphone.
I appreciate that, Mr. Speaker. Representative, now that the questions come from the back mic, I'm asking you with respect to your amendment, because it's a good amendment.
Thank you.
It would have been a great amendment yesterday had you voted to increase the basic allotment, because we all know that 2/3 of that allotment goes to salaries, but it goes to everybody. I want to make it clear that this amendment is forcing us to pick whether we want to give one group of employees a raise at the expense of others. And so I'm asking you, as I read your amendment, will any of this raise go to food service workers, maintenance officials, school safety officers, or anybody who is not a teacher? Can they get a raise under your amendment?
Mr. Speaker, point of parliamentary inquiry. Can I do that from here? I'll phrase it as I'll make a statement to you. 2, how I voted on an unrelated piece of legislation yesterday has absolutely nothing to do with the pro-public school teacher I'm amending today. Number 2, if I were on the back mic, since I can't ask you questions, I would forcefully express my disappointment that you are on the back mic opposing us giving public school teachers the pay they deserve.
I appreciate that. And when we're done, I sit at that desk. You can come see me and tell me how disappointed you are. But right now, you're just going to answer these questions because that's what this debate is about. And so if I asked you yesterday if you voted to increase the basic allotment for teacher salaries and you can't answer that, and then you represent to this body that the only way to increase the salaries for teachers is by your amendment, I'm curious about that. I think the body needs to know about that. And so again, you can't recall whether you voted yesterday to increase the basic allotment?
So, again, how I voted on any particular piece of legislation yesterday, if memory serves, I believe it was over 100 separate votes. Not one of those votes, other than the actual vote on HB 100, relates to HB 100. So with all due respect, I am standing here trying to do quite literally nothing than make sure that the great, selfless, hardworking, overworked, underpaid public school teachers in the state of Texas are the ones who actually benefit from the $5 or $6 billion that this body is contemplating throwing into the public school system. That's the only point of my amendment. Quite literally nothing more, nothing less, and I would humbly submit to you that any other topic is not germane to this amendment.
Oh, okay. I appreciate that. I could always use a lesson on what's germane and what's not. But again, I don't see the words food service workers in your amendment. I don't see the words bus drivers. I don't see nurses. I don't see counselors. I don't see anybody else. So I guess if you won't answer the question, Representative, I'll just have to assume that if the words aren't there, then you do not intend to give them a raise, and I'll just vote against this amendment. But thank you.